Okay. So I'd like to welcome you all back to our second half of the Zone Chairperson Resource Roadshow. And of course, we've also invited your mentors, the region chairs, along, as well as any district officers who are interested in participating and supporting you in your development. I know many of you were on the call last week. So you may already know me a little bit, but for those of you who aren't, I'm past District Governor Chris Lewis, and I look after the Global Action Team for all of Eastern Canada. So that's Multiple District A, which is mostly Ontario, and then a little bit of Quebec, and then also Newfoundland, Labrador, another little bit of Quebec on the other end, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, and a little bit of Maine. So it's a big job, and I work with the multiple district global action team coordinators in multiple district A and multiple district N, and as well as support the activities that the district global action teams and the district governor teams work on in order to really really drive membership, leadership, and service in right down to the club level, because that's where it really begins. And the purpose of doing the roadshow is that the last, about a month or so ago, we did a series of roadshows where we went through a lot of the resources for the district governor teams and the global action teams. And I really felt it was important to take some of the key resources that zone chairs need in order to be successful in supporting their clubs, and really get that information right down to the zone chairs so they can make their clubs even better. So last week we talked about some recruitment tools, and we talked a little bit about service and zone advisory meetings and your role as a zone chair. So carrying on from that, this week we're intending to talk about our main service projects, our main global causes, and how that can, understanding that and where to find the resources for our global causes can really help you if clubs are struggling keeping their members and keeping their members engaged. So we're going to talk a little bit about service, because there's a whole lot of resources on the Lions Clubs International website relating to service. Then we're going to talk a lot about MyLion, because many club secretaries and club service chair people really struggle with learning how to report on MyLion, and it has improved dramatically since it was first rolled out several years ago, and works nearly flawlessly today. And in probably just a minute or two, you'd be able to report your service activities and be able to take that same message back to your clubs and help them and teach them how easy it is to report on MyLion. We're also going to talk about why reporting matters on MyLion and what it does to really drive member engagement. And then we're going to talk about some of the leadership resources for you and your development, but also for the development of your presidents, your secretaries, your treasurers, the different club officers within your club, and also talk about some of the roadmaps for other things that you can do moving forward, should you decide to move on to become a region chair or a vice governor or a governor or an international president. So I can show you how you can move along, and we'll talk about some other resources. And of course, we'll also have an opportunity to talk about any of your questions, any of your challenges, any of your successes. I'd be interested to hear if any of you have had a zone meeting since last week, and then talk about what you liked about your zone meeting and what you didn't like, and maybe what you're thinking of doing for your next zone advisory meeting. And of course, throughout the whole roadshow last week and this week, I've been really asking for people to think of things that you need from me, things that I can do to support you. So keep taking notes and so on, and you can share those with me afterwards in an email or through the chat box or whatever. And I'm also going to do a post survey as well to capture some of that information, because I'd like to continue doing some development webinars for you throughout the year. And I want to make sure that they're tailored to the things that you think you need most as a zone chair to support your clubs. So without further ado, we should move on, because my goal is to be wrapped up by no later than about 8:30 Eastern, which I guess would be 10 o'clock out there on the island. So let's get started. So many of you might be are probably aware of our 5 main global causes, and those global causes actually were developed through a survey of lions from all over the world. And they wanted to find out what causes lions felt were important to support. We talked to some of our partners and our partner organizations to find out what causes were important to the world in general that they felt that lions could support. And some causes may not have made the cut, but these were the 5 main ones that lions generally felt were the most important pressing issues that we needed to face, that we could help solve. And because at the end of the day, when there's a need, there's a lion. And those 5 causes are diabetes, the environment, hunger, vision, and childhood cancer. And encompassing all of this is our drive to involve young people and develop young people in their service experience. So we try to involve youth within every one of these causes as we move forward. So let's just take a quick look at what those 5 global causes are all about. So diabetes is the signature cause of lions right now and Leos all around the world, because diabetes leads to serious diseases affecting the heart and blood vessels, eyes, kidneys, nerves, and teeth. An interesting stat is 629 million adults will be affected by diabetes by 2045. So it's a very pressing health matter that lions have a big role to play in helping solve and reduce the impact of. Looking ahead into November, November is World Diabetes Month, and then World Diabetes Day on November 14th. So if clubs are looking for opportunities to serve, tying into diabetes activities would be a huge opportunity for them. Of course, sight's been a big part of what we've done for years and years and years, ever since Helen Keller challenged us to become Knights of the Blind. So 235 million people are blind or have moderate to severe distance impairment. And one of the things we've learned about vision is the fact that in a lot of developing countries, when a person can't see very well or can't afford glasses or doesn't know that they can't see very well, they also can't support their families. They can't tend to their fields, they can't work their jobs, and so on. So it really impacts just beyond the one person. So 1.1 billion people have vision impairment just because they don't have glasses. So some of the projects we do, like eyeglass recycling, is in distribution, is huge. Hunger for clubs here in Canada. October is a very big month where a lot of clubs do hunger and food insecurity projects, usually tied around Canadian Thanksgiving. So 815 million people are affected by hunger each and every year, and 155 million young people under the age of 5 who don't have enough food. So Lions have a big role to play in supporting food banks and supporting food insecurity initiatives and breakfast programs in schools. So hunger is a very big activity for Lions all around the world. The environment is a pretty big thing too, and especially here in our centennial, where our goal is to plant 100,000 trees across the country here in Canada. So, one of the stats that comes out from Lions Clubs International relating to the environment is 15 billion trees are cut down every year. And obviously those are not all replaced. So it's pretty important for us to plant trees, clean up roadways, rivers, and beaches and such, and really make a difference in making the world a better place to be, because that impacts everybody. And then our newest project or newest service cause is childhood cancer. And many clubs may support local childhood cancer camps, or supporting hospitals and groups like Ronald McDonald House that benefit families and kids suffering from a very, very difficult disease. So the goal is to help those kids survive, and also, to help them have a little bit better life while they're dealing with such a disease. So those are our main 5 five service causes that we do that we follow and we act upon all around the world. So what we want to talk about is our service journey. And these are some of the tools and resources you can share with your clubs when you're visiting your clubs as a zone chair, or if you're having a virtual meeting or a zone advisory meeting geared towards service, is we can talk a lot about the service journey. When you became a Lion, you may have joined for all sorts of reasons. You might have joined for networking, you might have joined to look good with your boss, there all sorts of things. But your journey began with the day you said I do to becoming a Lion. And that journey of service carries on through your whole time as a Lion. And every Lion goes through some of this. So the service journey is a way to really focus that journey on four key areas. And those four key areas are learning, discovering, acting, and celebrating. And we start off our service journey as a Lion, whether you were a Lion from 20 years ago or a Lion from 20 minutes ago. We start our service journey by the learning phase. So part of the learning phase really is to learn about those five global causes and learn about some of the stats and some of the facts about those five causes. Because when we know stuff, we're more likely to act on it and make a difference. So I already shared some of those facts with you when we did the overview of the five global causes, but in the learn phase of the service journey, and all of the service journey is found right on the lionsclubs.org website. And then after both webinars are done, I'll be sharing a link to all these different parts of the website so that you'll be able to find them really easily and be able to share those links with your clubs and your club leaders. So the Learn has some key resources. It has fact sheets for each and every one of the five global causes. And many of these fact sheets were developed in partnership with other organizations. For example, the diabetes fact sheet was developed through a strategic partnership with the International Diabetes Federation. And you can download that fact sheet and get information related to diabetes in your area, in your country, in your region, whatever. And also contact information for your local diabetes member association. So in our case, it would be the Canadian Diabetes. So it really gives you like a top level view of what diabetes is and how it's impacting people all around the world. So you start off with the learn phase. So as you determine what you want to do in service, you begin to gather information. So you become knowledgeable about diabetes and you become knowledgeable about hunger and the environment and so on. And they're great, well done tools. Then we move on to the discover phase. So in the discover phase, it's all about opportunity. So we now begin to look at what can we do, what can we overcome or solve, and what can we do to improve in each of those particular five areas. So the key tool that you want to use in this case is something called the Service Toolkit. And the Service Toolkit is a whole bunch of downloadable resources to help your clubs assess, position, and activate for greater impact. So we talked last week about the Club Quality Initiative, and part of the Club Quality Initiative is completing something called a community needs assessment that helps clubs identify what their community needs and what you can do to perhaps solve them. There's also a developing local partnerships guide as part of the Service Toolkit, and it allows you to begin to build partnerships with other groups and organizations. So for example, if you have a food insecurity group somewhere in your community, perhaps a Salvation Army or a food bank or an anti-poverty group, that developing local partnerships will guide you through how to reach out to those people and work with them on joint projects and so forth to solve hunger perhaps in your community. It also includes fundraising guides because fundraising is a key part of service in that sometimes in order to do the service, you need to raise money in order to do so. So using the service toolkit can really help guide you along in um, finding the resources you need relating to that particular cause. So when you're talking to your clubs, share with them some of the resources available in the service toolkit. But then again, the next step obviously is act. So this is where we implement the projects that we've determined were important from our research process of the learning and the discovering part of finding out about our 5 global causes. So as I said, the third part is all about action. So in this has things such as the service project planner. And in the service project planner, it gives you ideas for doing small diabetes events, a half-day family event for diabetes, for example. There are 8 diabetes planners, project planners, 4 vision planners, 3 planners for hunger, 3 for the environment, and 3 for childhood cancer. And they're constantly being updated and added to as different project ideas are developed. So if you're trying to develop a project within a club, you might be able to find some ideas within those service project planners. So as people move through the journey of service, encouraging clubs to follow that same journey of service, you might be surprised at the kind of projects they come up with. So obviously the planner consists of all sorts of tools in it, such as a project overview, a step-by-step checklist on how to complete the project, a budget, and perhaps a way to determine the impact that you're making through that service project. And then also there's the service launchpad, and it's an interactive tool that allows you to go with ready-to-go planning resources. So all you do is go to the Lions Club's website, visit Start Your Service, click on the Launchpad, and just answer the questions. And then after you answer those few simple questions, such as, I want to support hunger, I want to support such and such an age group, and how much time your club has to dedicate to the project, it will pop up with almost ready to complete and ready to execute service projects for your club. Right now with COVID, clubs might be challenged to come up with some service ideas to do, because they may feel they just can't do anything because they're locked down, or they're you might have some older members in a club who may feel like they really can't get out and can't do service. So the service launchpad might be able to guide you along onto some simple projects and guide those clubs along into some simple projects that they can do right now, even in a COVID world. So I would encourage you to visit the service launchpad. And then of course, the service journey wouldn't be complete if we didn't celebrate what we've done. Lions say they don't want recognition or whatever, but that's really probably not true. We do get a sense of deep pride when we help someone and we've made a difference in someone's lives, but we also like to share that with other people, because when we share, we're telling our story. And that story then begins to attract more people into our organization. It also begins to re-engage our members and makes our members proud of the things we do. If all we did was service and not tell anybody, then our members would think that, hey, people in our community don't think I'm really doing anything. So this is a way to really, really engage with people. And it's not even so, celebration isn't so much about what we do in the past, but it's also about what we need to do in the future. And this leads us into a conversation about why reporting matters. So we can share our service through the MyLion app or desktop app, but reporting service is really, really important. We can report our service through MyLion, but we can also report it additionally through things like social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and whatever social media comes out next week that we all have to learn, but it really engages the knowledge and really keeps us moving forward into the future and becomes the leader in service. So some of the benefits of reporting service is it helps transfer the knowledge. So when we share what we do, I know in my club sometimes forgets what it did 2 weeks ago. So it's a great way to remind our members of the projects we do, and then we keep them focused. We know the dates we've done them. We know how many people were involved. We know how many people we helped and impacted, and so forth. So that knowledge then becomes kind of permanent and shared with the rest of the club. I talked about how we are community leaders, and how really by reporting service through MyLion and through social media and through other media, we end up being thought of as the go-to people for service, that when a community needs something, Lions are there. The other thing you can do is reporting service can also motivate other clubs to do service as well. I'm sure many of us have come up with service ideas from seeing another club do a successful service project and say, hey, I can adapt that into my own club. And I think that's pretty important. When clubs report service, it's really the sign of a healthy district, and it shows that the district believes and the clubs believe in the importance of membership, leadership, and service. And of course, some people are really big on awards and plaques and such. Just recently, Lions Clubs International distributed presidential and leadership awards to the top performing clubs in Canada for reporting service in MyLion. So that's a pretty prestigious award, the third or fourth highest award that you can get in Lionism. So there were some great people in Canada who received recognition for consistently reporting their service. So let's just ask a couple of questions. So in the chat box, and you can do that, or you can unmute yourself if you wish. What do you think are some of the barriers that people have, or why people are reluctant to report service within your clubs? So you just type into your chat box. Oh, Mike says afraid of the new program. Yeah, I'm using MyLion because, before we used to do it as part of my LCI. So the secretary was always responsible for it. And people are afraid of it. Claire says a preconceived notion, it's difficult. Or Heidi saying MyLion not working properly. I'm going to admit that when MyLion first came out, it kind of did suck a little bit, maybe. Would that be the right word to use? It was flaky. It wasn't quite ready for prime time. It was very buggy and so on. But as we've moved on, MyLion is much, much easier to report, and it works pretty well. Yes, it goes down every now and then, just like every other little computer program or server. But for the most part, it works, and it works very, very well now. And so those are some of the challenges. Oh, Denise says not computer literate or not understanding the program. Yeah, so the beauty of MyLion is it doesn't have to be the secretary anymore. There can be the club service chairperson, or you can appoint a club administrator to do some of that reporting as well. So you can find the person that has those computer skills in order to report, and that can be a little bit. Oh, my little work isn't worthy for recognition, Mr. C Galaxy A5 2017 says. Yeah, so something that I do in my own club is, I'm no longer the secretary, but previously when I was a club secretary, I would take all the reports that we had done on MyLion, and I would share them, at least every month or two with our club, so they could see the impact we're making as we go along. Because, as I said, my club doesn't remember what they did a week ago or 2 weeks ago. We just did a food drive, and instead of talking about the money we raised, we talked about the number of people we fed. And we were able to, just in a few hours, feed 3,000 people. So that impact really impressed our club when we started to report those numbers. So we share that service report with our club, and we also share it with our community. We post that service report online so that so the club begins to be recognized for what they do and why they matter. And of course, the district uses that information as well. So your district governor or your zone chair may look at your service report before they visit your club to find out what you've been up to and share that with other people. Some people feel the project is too small and not worth reporting. No, if you only help one person, that's one more person that's better off. So a project doesn't have to be 1,000 people or 2,000 people. It's about making the difference in one person's lives. So don't get uncomfortable or reluctant to report just because it's a small event. Some people say unsure how to manage the system. So I'm hopeful that when we do the next section on MyLion, where I walk you through how easy it is to report, that hopefully some of these you may be able to check some of these reasons off why your clubs aren't reporting, if you can now see how easy it is and be able to share that with your club. So Blaine did comment. We were talking about the leadership awards, and Blaine Lachance received a leadership award from the international president because of service reporting. So it is important. Awards aren't why we're all here, but it's nice to be recognized for doing some of the things that our clubs and our districts are asked to do. So well done, Blake. So there are some other collective benefits of reporting service. So we partner with lots of other organizations, such as the United Nations, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Carter Center, Habitat for Humanity in some places. And if they're giving us money and they're working with us to support the projects and things we do, they want to know that our clubs that their money's being used effectively and that our clubs are actually doing the service that they're funding and they're supporting, whether it's measles initiatives, whether it's measles initiatives, whether it's vaccinations, whether it's environmental projects, whatever it might be all around the world. We need to validate what we do with those partners and so on, because otherwise they'll say, I'm not going to give that money to Lions Clubs International Foundation, or we're going to partner with another organization that uses our money and gets more impact than we do. So the scary thing is, and I'm sure you can find out your own numbers in your own district, is 30 to 40% of clubs often report. So all these numbers we talk about, 200 million people served and all those other things that we talk about all the time, is probably understated by 60 or 70%. So think of how this would sound to the community if you could say, instead of serving 200 million people last year, we served 600 million or 700 million. I think it's an impressive number and can really change the way we're perceived by the community. So there are some big benefits of it. Don just made a comment. Are we still restricted to presidents, secretaries, and club administrators having access to report on MyLion? Well, there's also club service chair people. So if you've appointed somebody in your club as a club service chairperson, they can also report on MyLion. The final reason why we want to make sure that we're reporting on MyLion is really that data allows Lions Clubs International to determine which projects they need to fund. If nobody is doing environmental projects, then why would Lions Clubs International develop guides and tools and resources for the environment? But if everybody is all reporting that they're really involved in environment and that's important to Lions, then the organization works for us, the members. So the organization will build the tools and support you so you can serve the environment even better. So it's important to know that how our service is being impacted around the world so they can tailor their projects and stuff. So Mike comments that reports show communities how we're spending their donations, and they may encourage more donations as people learn more about what we do. Absolutely it does. Because the more we share what we do, the more likely the community wants to be a part of it. we'll find somebody who knows that we do all sorts of diabetic projects, and we report the number of people we've been able to screen for blindness or vision problems through the schools. And by doing that, they might be more likely to either become a blind, or they may be more likely to send us a little bit more cash. So absolutely spot on, Mike. So now's the part you've all been waiting for, which is the MyLion app. So MyLion is where you report your service. There's some other parts of MyLion too, but I don't think it's really our primary focus of MyLion. MyLion can be used to plan your project, so you can put your projects in advance, and then you can share those projects and those activities with Lions from all around the world. You can create a project, you can invite Lions from neighboring clubs to attend that project, you can invite people to come to your fundraising event, all that stuff. And many clubs, I don't think, take advantage of that. Rather than trying to share and promote, because obviously we would like more people to attend our stuff. You can also send messages to other MyLion users all around the world. So any of your members or any other member in your district or whatever that's connected with MyLion, you can send them a message, and it's all private, so that you're not sharing your email address with them, so that your contact information is restricted. So it's a great way to engage. When you find another club that has a project, you can reach out to them, you get some more information, and maybe build a lifelong friendship and networking with them. So it really builds the community. So you can access MyLion on all sorts of devices. Your computer, your laptop, a tablet, your mobile device, or any other device that has a web browser. Now, a couple of things with MyLion. Generally, you shouldn't be using Internet Explorer. So we want to encourage you to use Chrome or Firefox or Microsoft Edge. But if you have an older computer with an older browser, such as Internet Explorer, you may not want to use that, because it will likely not work very, very well. That's probably one of the biggest challenges people have when they go to access MyLion, is their computer configuration. So computer doesn't have to be super, super new. It just needs to be have a more modern browser than Internet Explorer is. So we're going to be using the desktop version in MyLion. And to tell you the truth, I think the desktop version is one of the easiest ways to access MyLion for reporting and so on. It's easier to type on than it is on your mobile device and so on, but that's just a personal preference. So the first thing you have to do when you go to lionsclubs.org website is you need to click where it says My Member Login, right where the number 1 is. And this will take you to your Lion account. The first time, if you've never registered for your Lion account, if you're a club secretary or whatever, you likely are already using a MyLion account to access MyLCI or whatever. So if you've had a MyLCI account previously, and you've logged in the last couple of years since we migrated all into a Lion account, then your login currently will likely work. But if not, you just have to click the register button, and it will walk you through the process. So you'll need some information like your email address, your phone number, and so on. One of the things I've learned with MyLion and the registration process is often a person may have been recorded on MyLCI by their club secretary 20 or 30 years ago, perhaps at a time when we didn't have to use area codes to dial down the street. So your phone number might be listed just as 7 digits, whereas in most areas now we're on 10-digit calling, where we need the area code and as well as the other 7 digits. So one of the things I would recommend to zone chairs is reach out to their club secretaries and get them to go on to MyLCI and print off a club roster and circulate at their next meeting, or find out a way to reach out to their members and get them to verify all the information that is listed with Lions Clubs International and MyLCI. People may have changed their email address, they may have changed their phone numbers, all sorts of things. So if you update all that information and make sure it's nice and clean, when your members go to register for their Lion account, they'll have much less problems. But if there's ever a problem registering, just simply reach out to Lions Clubs International, and um, they will help and walk you through. Their fantastic staff, and they'll guide you through the whole process of setting up your Lion account. And usually it's a very simple fix. You put a 1 in front of the phone number or whatever. The other thing that can happen too is sometimes you might have two spouses in the same club, both with the same email address. And you can only register for a Lion account if you have that information being separate. So two spouses can't have the same email address. They need to have two separate email addresses, or else it will cause grief when you go to register. So a shared email account will not work. So once you register, and assuming the process goes in nice and clean, then we simply go, and in this case, we're going to report a past activity. So you click the report past activity at the top of the screen. Then there's an orange button to the right-hand side that says report. And when you have to be a reporting officer, and as we talked about it previously, it's a president, a secretary, a club administrator, or a club service chairperson. So you can report the past activity. So if you did a food drive last week and you need to report it, you would just click the report button. Then screen pops up. The stuff that is in pink is stuff that you have to enter. It's a required field. Everything else you don't have to do if you don't want to. However, as you enter stuff in those pink fields, it will guide you along to some additional questions that you might need. And this way, you're only answering the questions that you need for your particular project. So for example, if it was a fundraiser, it may ask you how much did you raise, or how much did you donate, or whatever. But if it's a service project, it might just ask you how many people did you help. So it streamlines the process and makes it much, much easier. So obviously the first step would be to enter the title of the activity, the start date. If it's a one-day event, it's just that. If it's a multiple day, you can say it was from Friday to Sunday. For example, there's a little calendar that pops up. And the activity types, there's a bunch of different activity types. And, they'd be whether service project, fundraiser, or meeting. So you should be reporting the meetings due. So as a zone chair or region chair tonight, you should be reporting the time, or providing to your service chairperson or your club secretary, or whoever's doing the reporting within your club, report that you spent an hour and a half tonight on a zone chair webinar. Because when you meet, you're actually planning service in many ways. So some clubs may have been combining that into their service project and said, hey, we had 6 hours of planning at committee meetings or whatever. Or you may just want to enter it as meetings in order to plan that particular thing. So you put the cause in, the type of project. So the cause would be those 5 major causes, or there's another one for other as well that you can use to cover other types of projects. Project type, and then any other questions that pop up throughout it, like how many people you're helping and that kind of thing. And then you can say who's going to be able to see it. In most cases, you probably want everyone to see it. You can add a picture if you like. I would encourage you to put a description of the story of what happened, so that you can say, hey, we did a food drive, we did it at such and such a place, it was well attended, we got good media coverage, because those are things that are going to help other clubs when they're looking at your projects. Then all you have to do is click the report button at the bottom, and your report will be submitted. You can actually save the report and come back to it later on if you don't have all the information about it. And of course, if you make a mistake and you don't want that reported, you realize someone else has already reported, you can just simply log in and delete the report as well. Did you think that was pretty easy to report a past service activity? In like probably a minute or two, you could easily report every project that you've done in the last little while, and catch up perhaps on some of the projects that haven't been done. One of the things I would encourage you to do as zone chairs and region chairs is perhaps hold an online meeting with your club secretaries or club service chairs, or if you're having a zone advisory meeting based on service, perhaps take 5 minutes, and I'll be sharing a link to some of these slides, and um, about uh, perhaps showing your club secretaries how easy it is to report. So Susan just did asked a question about how far back you're able to go to. So normally you can report service for the previous fiscal year up until around the middle of July. I think they extended it a little bit later this year because of COVID. So I think they extended that deadline till I think maybe the end of July, or it might have even been the middle of August. But normally you can only go back to projects within the current year to report. So the best way to do it is report the projects as you go. So after every club meeting, report, we had a club meeting, we had 25 people there, blah, 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 that kind of thing. You do a service project, you report your service project, you do your fundraisers, and just make it a part and parcel of the whole activity. So something I know we do in our club is whenever we have a committee doing work on something, as part of their final report of their project they're working on, they're required to give to the club secretary or the club service chair a basic listing of, hey, these are the meetings we had, these are the projects we did relating to our committee or that particular project, and these are how many hours we spent, that kind of thing. So just a quick estimation. One of the questions that I get asked a lot is, how do you estimate how many people you helped? Well, sometimes, if you're doing an event, it's pretty easy. If you had 1,000 people attend the event, you obviously impacted 1,000 people. If you did vision screening and you screened 200 kindergarten kids, you obviously helped 200 people. Food drives are a little bit different. I'm going to share with you when I send out the links afterwards and in the final documents, some calculations you can use to figure out how much a dollar is in meals, or how much a pound of food is in people served. And that can help you when you do food drives and food activities to guide you through your reporting. Sometimes talking to the other organization you're partnering with can give you some help too, and they can guide you through it. If you're doing some online advocacy, so for example, if you're doing a Facebook post about diabetes screening and encouraging people to take an online diabetes assessment, you can go into your Facebook page and look to see how many people viewed that, or how many clicked on the link, and all those sorts of things. And that's obviously how many people you impacted, because some of those people and those views that you got for that are actually people that you've helped, because they're looking at it and they may be considering going on to be tested for diabetes formally. So there's lots of ways that you can estimate the number of people that you've helped. And at the end of the day, as long as I think you're making reasonable estimates that aren't dramatic one way or the other, I don't think you're going to be in trouble. You make, there's not an auditing firm coming in here to double check if you put down 1,000 people, but it was really only 980. I don't think there's going to be an issue. You are limited to reporting 3,000 people per project, and that's to avoid people that's really to avoid people over-reporting by accident and suddenly skewing our numbers all around the world. Verona just made a comment that, yeah, the final step is, once it says successfully submitted, make sure you click OK, because that makes sure that that's the final, it closes it off and moves you back to the beginning. So thanks for mentioning that, Verona. Yeah, so MyLion reporting is pretty easy, and I think it can be pretty impactful when we start to engage our members at doing it. So some of the tools you might want to share with your clubs are the benefits of reporting service, links to download the MyLion app, or the project, or the how to get onto the desktop app, the how to report service guide. It's a great 5-page document that basically guides through exactly what I just did. Takes you step by step on reporting a service project. There's a guide to measuring service, which can help you come up with those numbers for how many people how many people you can serve through different activities. And of course, a whole bunch of frequently asked questions and information to report questions about MyLion to staff at LCI. I'm not going to say it again, or I probably will have to say it multiple times, but the staff at Lions Club International are phenomenal, and they will do everything they can to support you in whatever you need to do. So don't hesitate to reach out to them and really try to help to ask them for those questions and support, because they're more than willing to help you because you're out in the field. And if you have any other questions about it, you can always reach out to me and I can support you and guide you through it. And if you needed to, we could do a one-on-one Zoom meeting if you needed, and I can log right into MyLion and I can show you, or you can log into MyLion and I can walk you through exactly how to report something with you. So there's some great ways that we can support you in your education about MyLion and help clubs adopt it even more and use it to move forward. So before we move on, are there any other questions about service or MyLion that we should answer before we move on to the leadership piece? You can just drop them in the chat box, or, there's about 45 of us, so it shouldn't get too out of hand if someone wanted to unmute themselves and ask a question. So.
Lion Chris.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you are new and you're registering for MyLion, do you not need your membership number?
Yeah, so you need membership number or your email address, and a few of those details that you'd find perhaps on your Lions magazine on the mailing label or whatever. The best thing to do would be to reach out to your club secretary and get all the actual information right off MyLCI and get them to give it to you. Now, you as zone chairs, since you all have access to MyLCI, if you ever had a club member contact you with questions about that, you can actually log in and pull it up, I believe, too, right? Mm-hmm. You can log into the particular club on MyLCI and get their information for them as well and support them that way. But definitely, yeah, you need some of that information. And that's sometimes, I think, what holds people back, because they don't know their member number. They don't know, they don't know what phone number they had listed, because back then they had a rotary phone and now they just use mobile phones instead of landline. So there's all sorts of reasons why that information may never have never been updated. Bill has a good comment. Make sure you match the upper and lowercase letters in your name register in MyLCI. Yeah. So if your name or your email address is uppercase, lowercase, or whatever, right? And that's what got entered on MyLCI, that's what has to be entered as your information when you register. So yeah, basically making sure whatever information you use to register matches what's on MyLCI, because that's where they're going to get it. And if you have any difficulty with it, reach out to the great staff at LCI and they'll help you. They'll usually be able to fix it up right away, and they'll say, oh, by the way, we noticed that your phone number was recorded incorrectly in MyLion, or your email address or something. And, they can usually get that all fixed up for you and get you running almost right away. So there's also a great Facebook group for MyLion as Lion users as well. So if you go to Facebook and look for and I'll put a link to it in the follow-up documents too, utilize that Facebook group, because there are staff from LCI that monitor that Facebook group. And when people put questions in it, they'll guide you through how to solve it and so on too. So you can get some almost immediate information from them. So, but once you log into MyLion, reporting the service is actually, I believe, pretty straightforward and pretty easy to do. So are there any other questions?
I think
go ahead, Mike.
I think it also points to the fact that it's important for people to have nominated their officers in MyLCI, because if you're not, if you're not showing up as being allowed to enter the information, you won't be able to put the information in. And also, maybe you have someone in your, maybe you have an older generation president, secretary, they're not too keen on even learning this, but there is someone within the club that is. Well, again, make them your service chair or whatever, so that they can log in and act as the administrator for your club. That's what I do for my club.
Absolutely. And those are great things to do. And that's a good comment about one of the key roles of the secretary at the end of the year, after elections are all done, in April or whatever, is to log into MyLCI and report the officers for next year. So it may be a new secretary, it may be a new president, whatever. If they don't do that, as Mike said, then those people don't have access to MyLCI, they don't have access to the reporting pieces of MyLion, or they also, and the other thing is they also don't get any correspondence from Lions Clubs International based on the on their position within the club. So the club might be losing out on some of that information too. So a good thing to do, we talked about the club health assessment last week, as a zone chair, is go through and take a look to see which officers perhaps haven't been listed, or which officers don't have email addresses, secretary, treasurer, those key people, and maybe work with those clubs to get that information updated so that they get that correspondence they need, and then they might be able to do those particular things. Yeah, so that's a good point. And I really like the idea of getting the right person in the club to report. It doesn't have to be the secretary. It doesn't have to be whatever, right? The secretary might be comfortable with MyLCI, but not comfortable doing MyLion. Who knows, right? So, get the right person to do it. And, clubs can set up a club administrator who can do all that sort of tech stuff. They act kind of like as a super user in the club, and they can do membership reports and all that stuff. So if you have a techie guy within the club, or a techie girl, then get them set up as a club administrator so that they can do some of that administrative stuff that the club struggles with, perhaps. Right? It might be a great job for someone in the club who maybe is a little bit housebound or whatever with COVID or whatever, but has no problem doing things on the computer and can do that stuff from home where they don't have to do it outside. So Don says, one of the difficulties we encountered was member profile and officer profile must match exactly. So if my member name is listed as Donald and my officer name is Don, you may not be able to log in. Yeah. And generally speaking, if you report your officers through MyLCI, that probably won't happen because it will link it to it. But you're right, you can have an issue if the names of the officers are correct. So absolutely. So basically you want all your information to be accurate in MyLCI so that you can register effectively. And I think that's maybe one of the things that turns people off of MyLion, is they struggle just getting to the registration standpoint, or getting beyond that, so they don't even get into MyLion. So they get a bad taste in their mouth saying that MyLion doesn't work, when really what it is their information isn't right. So how can you register using that information? So if you don't know what it is. So we should move on because it's coming up on 5 to 8. So if there's no further questions about MyLion or service, let's move on to some of the district leadership resources. Leadership is another one of those legs on the global action team stool. And how we develop our clubs and develop the leaders within our clubs actually has our organization become even more successful, because at the end of the day, the next zone chair is going to likely be one of the presidents that you that serves with you, or the next district governor is going to be one of those people that are on cabinet currently or fairly recently. And our international president, it's a stepping stone as we move up towards those different roles. So we have leadership responsibilities all throughout our association. And we need to work with those leadership opportunities and develop people and encourage them to use those learnings. The other thing that leadership development does is it makes clubs stronger, because clubs may have conflict, but if a good president of the club knows how to manage and deal with conflict effectively, because they've taken some Lions Clubs International courses or modules related to conflict resolution, the club can be far more successful if people are all working towards common goals. So obviously there's learning for everybody. There's LCI developed learnings. So those are things that come down the pipeline. They're institutes perhaps that you might have heard about. There's locally developed learning. So your district global leadership team or district global action team may do various types of different trainings throughout the year. There's in-person classroom training that might be happen. They might be virtual. Probably most of them are virtual now. For now, there's some online training you can do through Lion Learn. Webinars, there's webinars on constantly. Some are put on by Lions Club International. Some are put on by Lions all around the world that are interested in helping develop Lion leaders all around the world. Here's a webinar tonight, developing your skills as a zone chair. And then, of course, there's the USA Canada Lions Leadership Forum, which this year had to move to a virtual format. And then there's conventions where there's training seminars and opportunities to learn and develop. So there's a huge amount of training for Lions. And I want to tell a story about a Lion I know from the Ottawa area, and she has her PhD. And her latest job she didn't get because of her education as a that she had taken over years of university and post-secondary education and postgraduate work to earn her PhD. She got the job because she was a Lion, and they recognized the skills that we taught Lions, because she talked about some of those skills and so on during the interview process. So don't discredit the learnings that we have available for Lions. I work with McDonald's, and I do lots of training of managers all over Ontario and so on. And some of the training materials that we develop for Lions are top notch and are better than the stuff you would get in corporate training workshops. So you should be very proud of the curriculum that is developed by Lions Club International to support you. So there are several things in Lions Leadership Institutes, and these are classroom settings for the most part. The Emerging Institute, or the ELLI, is for people who have not yet served as club president. So most of you on the call would not be able to attend an Emerging Institute. So these are generally operated by your multiple district, and they may get some funding from Lions Club International to support it. And, it's usually 3 days, and it's great workshops and can develop people. So we've sent people from our own club to Emerging Lions Leadership Institutes. And when they've returned from the Emerging Lions Leadership Institute, they have been better Lions and better leaders when they take on the role of club president. So it's a way to develop them. There's a small fee to attend an Emerging Institute. In most cases, $100, $150 or so probably would be put on by your multiple. But then they generally cover the hotel room and meals and such for you. So the regional institutes are also put on by your multiple district. Multiple District A is holding a regional institute sometime this year. We've put a grant application in. So, it's likely will be virtual, and more information will come out as that information is available. And that regional institute will be customized learning for different people. So, we don't know if it's going to be geared towards zone chairs or presidents or up and coming leaders. The last one we did was kind of targeted around the zone chair level. So it was a great opportunity, and I was on the faculty on it. And I've seen some of those people leave that institute and be even stronger and more effective. The Advanced Lions Leadership Institute is for people who have already been a club president but have not been a first vice governor. So most of you on the call tonight would actually be able to apply for the Advanced Institute. I'll share the dates in a second. Again, that one's put on by Lions Clubs International, and I've served on the faculty of probably 6 or 7 maybe Advanced Institutes. And it's great following the development of the people in that institute as they go on to become vice governors or beyond. So it's a great opportunity to network and share. Usually it's about 100 to 130 people from all across North America. And it's a great opportunity. You have to be accepted into it because obviously not everyone can get in, right? And then there's also some trainer pathways for people who want to practice their skills at training. So that's the Faculty Development Institute and a Lions Certified Instructor Program as well. So those are outside the leadership pathway, but those are some opportunities for people to develop skills. So these institutes are being held. The Faculty Development Institute is being held in February in Los Angeles. So I don't know how many of us will be able to get there for that one. There is some talk about perhaps holding a Canadian institute only because of travel restrictions for attending institutes in the US. The Advanced Lions Leadership Institute is being held in March in Toronto. So for most of our area, MDA and MDN, wouldn't be too difficult to get there. This time, we don't know if it's going to be face-to-face or whether it's going to be virtual or whatever, or if those dates maybe changed or adapted. We don't know. Again, there's some talk and some conversation about perhaps having a US-focused institute so that this one would only be for Canadians because Americans obviously can't get here as well. And the Lions Certified Instructor Program will be in Chicago in May. And again, we don't know what's going on with that. So many of those institutes will be in flux, but these are ways to continue your development as a zone chair and networking with other people. And also, if you have key people within your clubs who have perhaps been some of those positions and have now gone back to their own clubs to serve in their clubs, maybe recognizing they have some leadership skills and encouraging them to explore them by going to some of these other LCI institutes. So going back to your Lion account, there's also a whole bunch of online learning that you can do through something called Lion Learn. It used to be called the Lions Learning Center, and I don't know how many of you have accessed the Lions Learning Center before, but in a moment I'll log into my own because the pictures that they show aren't very clear within this PowerPoint. So I'll be able to walk you through my Lion Learn account so you can see what's available on it. So again, you have to register for a Lion account if you don't already have one, but and then you just sign in. And when you log in, it takes you to a member portal. And that member portal gets you into MyLion, MyLCI, Insights, where you can see some stats about service and membership and all that stuff. Lion Learn, the Lion Shop, so if you need to buy anything from the LCI store, and there might be an extra button which is only in test right now. And basically it's a pilot project they're working on that they hope to roll out early in the new year, which would basically provide online meetings for your clubs without having to have a Zoom account or a GoToWebinar and that kind of thing. So Lions would have the access, would have the ability to hold online meetings built right into their member portal. So let me just give X from this for a second. So I just want to share the right screen here. So I just have to log into a learner view because I'm currently a district governor elect group leader. So I see a few different courses there that you might not be able to, that you wouldn't normally see. So when you arrive in Lion Learn, you'll have a page similar to this. And over at the side, you'll see a home button, a content library, achievements, or collapse the menu. So the content library, if you click on that, this will show you all the different courses and learning paths that are available on Lion Learn right now. So back with the old Lion Learning Center, there were, let's say, 30 or 40 courses that were available on Lion Learn, or on the Lion's Learning Center, and most of them have been migrated and updated to Lion Learn. So there are two different types of content. One is courses and one is a learning path. And one of the things that the benefit is, for example, if you are a club president, there's a club president learning path that you can click on. And if you click on that, it takes you to the club president path. So basically there's two main courses within the club president's training or learning path. One is the club officer training, which would be common to all your officers. It's about how to be an effective board member and all that kind of stuff. And then there's also the club president responsibilities, which guides you through the process of being an effective club president. And so when you actually, for example, let's look at the club officer training. So I'm going to start this learning path. As it logs in. So I'm in the club president's training path, and I want to go through club officer training. So in this module, it's a step-by-step module on how to do the officer training piece, self-directed for your club officers. So it gives talk about the standard club leadership structure, the duties and responsibilities of the officers, and the structure and responsibilities of the board. Up here at the side, you can see how much I've completed of this course, and I can start the module from here and just carry on and basically walk through. It will take me through 4 steps. You can start and stop as you go through the course, and a lot of it is interactive. They'll have little quizzes and so on for the club president and so forth. And you can, most of the courses don't take much more than 15 minutes, maybe half an hour at most to complete. So a club president, you can, if a club president is struggling or a new club president comes in, you may want to encourage them to visit Lion Learn, set up their account, and go through the club president and club officer training pathway so that they can then go through how to learn to be a president. Going back to the content, so there's club officer training, there's the president, secretaries, and treasurers learning path. If there's any council chairs on here and they haven't done their council chairperson learning, now would be a good time to get that done since we're already a quarter of the way or more through the year. You can also take the individual courses if you wish to, such as club officer training, club president, club secretary, or club treasurer. There's courses on coaching, communication skills for district governors, conflict resolution, an orientation for your council chairs, decision making, delegation, effective listening, effective teams. For district governors who are struggling with their expense claims, they can learn how to do their expense claims, goal setting. Something that we do as part of the North American Membership Initiative is something called a SWOT analysis. This can guide you through and help you through the process and how to do that. You can find out about LCIF, how to manage a district, how to manage a meeting, frequently asked policy questions about Lions Clubs International, or if you ever want to know how to start a new club, there's a course on new club development as well. There's no requirement to do these in any particular order. You can just log in, take them as you wish, and when you achieve them, it will, when you complete the course, it will track your progress and so forth, so that your district leaders and so on and your mobile leaders can actually log in and see some of the courses and such that you've achieved. They're constantly adding new courses into Lion Learn, and I would encourage you to, especially perhaps when you're doing your leadership zone advisory meeting, encourage your next year leaders to take some of those trainings so that they can develop themselves and prepare themselves more for their position in the upcoming year. So the key positions, president, secretary, and treasurer are on there, as well as the board for the club officer training and so on. So as a quick sort of question, how many of you have ever gone to either the old Lions Learning Center, or the new Lion Learn? Just drop an answer in the chat box or whatever. Bill has done both. I'm just someone had a question about where do we go from here, and how do we get to Lion Learn? So once you log into your Lion account on Lions Clubs International, right at the very top, the same button you would use to get onto MyLion, the member login. And I'll show you where that is, right on the Lions Clubs website. Of course, my internet is slow as can be tonight. So you would just click on the member login button right there, log in using your Lion account. And then the first thing you would see would be this member portal. And the member portal has various announcements. So this is some of my club service activities we've done so far for this year. News feed of different posts that people may have put into MyLion recently. And then of course is where you would access MyLion, MyLCI, Insights, Learn, the Lion Store. Remember I was talking about that new button that says Connect? This is how we can eventually move into online meetings through the member portal. So then you would just click MyLion. Or sorry, not MyLion is not what I want to do. I wanted to go to Learn, didn't I? So you want to go to Learn. Now, when I log into Learn, you'll get to this page, which has the Lions Learning Center. You can also click this button and it takes you right to the pages about the Advanced Institutes. And if you click local training, you can see if there's any local training planned by your multiple district or your district as well. But you would go to the former Lions Learning Center by clicking that Go button. As it's trying to log me in. Still trying to log me in. It's going a little bit slow. Okay, now when I log in, as I said, I'm a group leader, so my portal looks a little bit different. So I just have to switch to learner view instead. So once you log in, these are some of the courses I'm currently working on right now. So I'm working on the first vice governor course and the frequently policy questions. But you just go to the content library to access all the various courses you have there. Now someone asks, are they considering let's go back up. I got lots of questions in here. So we'll start at the top here. How is this different to Lions University? So that's a great question, Claire. So Lions University is a project or activity of the USA Canada Lions Leadership Forum, which is not really kind of part of Lions Clubs International. It's kind of a separate organization that puts on forums, and it's supported by Lions Clubs International, but it operates somewhat independently with some oversight from Lions Clubs International. So they run Lions Universities, and there's volunteers on it. I serve on the faculty of Lions Clubs of Lions University. So I develop courses and I hold courses and so on it. And you can go through a program where you take lots of great modules, 30 minutes, 45-minute sessions. And when you complete a quiz at the end and you meet all sorts of various criteria in Lions University, you may be eligible for recognition by the forum as a bachelor, a master's, or a PhD or a doctorate in Lions University. So the courses there can supplement some of them. They're not official Lions Clubs International courses by any means, but they're great courses that can really help and guide you along. The official trainings that are done by Lions Clubs International are done through the Lions Learning Center. Those are updated constantly by Lions Clubs International with new policy, new procedures, and so on. Whereas the other ones in Lions University are updated periodically. There might be some that haven't been updated in 5 or 6 years. I really don't know. And I would encourage you to visit Lions University as well and take some of the courses there, and because they can really help you and your development as well. I should have added that into to the slide where we talked about learning opportunities. So Lion Tracy says she's working her way through it and loves it. Claire is trying to figure out what is the old Lions Learning Center. We switched to a new learning management system called Litmos a couple of years ago and migrated a lot of the old stuff that was on the Lions Learning Center, which had to be a separate registration from your Lions account and that kind of thing. So as we fully migrate to Litmos, you'll see all sorts of new stuff coming out. So the new one is the only one that's available now. So Holly's done some of the courses. Let's see here. I've looked at it. Julian's done the first vice learning path. It's a great way to learn. Are they considering putting in metrics for zones? We actually had a meeting with Lions International just a little while ago, and that was one of our conversations about we want to get those insights and metrics down to the zone level and regional level. So they're looking at what they can do at the back end to adjust those things so you can get all these stats and so on right down at the zone level more effectively for you. Recognize that the IT department might be one guy with some Dr. Pepper and Doritos in the basement. I don't know. And, so it might take a little while till he gets to it, but I think it's all, every time I go to Lions Clubs International, it seems like there's more computers on the main floor. So I think the IT department is getting bigger and bigger and bigger as we get a little bit more digital. So is there a way to know how many Lions in your district have taken online training? And that's a good question. In the old Lions Learning Center, the old system we had, there was an opportunity to pull up a report and you could see everybody that's taken a course and all that sort of thing. This one currently doesn't have it, but it is in process. Some of the people who took the old Lions Learning Center courses, their achievements didn't get carried over. So they're working on that, but again, it might be that guy with the Doritos in the basement that's working on it. So Holly says, how do you access Lions University? Well, I'll show you the website for that. It's lionsforum.org, I believe. And this is the main website for the USA Canada Lions Leadership Forum. And then there's a link right at the top to Lions University. And when you click on that, you register your account, and you can see the criteria for bachelors, for example, and there are probably 25 courses or something, like history, club success, membership, LCIF, and so on. And some of them are being updated and so on. So you need, in order to achieve your bachelor's in Lions University, you need to complete 10 courses. So the 10 required courses, 5 of the elective courses, as well as attend a USA Canada Lions Leadership Forum after 2014. Because part of it is to encourage attendance at the forum, since it's put on and operated by the forum committee as well. There's other criteria for um, for masters and doctorate as well. So yeah, just go to lionsuniversity.org or lionsforum.org and find out about the forum and this. So Mark Kelso said, yeah, none of the old training was transferred, had to redo everything. Yeah, so unfortunately there were two different learning systems and learning management systems, and they were hopeful they were going to be able to bring the information from the old learning system into the new learning system, but it didn't really happen and didn't really work very well. So you know, I remember we had some first vice district governors that were doing training, and they had done all these courses early in the year, and then we switched to it, and then all of a sudden they had to redo those trainings. So Tracy's saying achievement as create a report. So I have not seen that button on it, so let's explore, Tracy. So this would probably be a way for you to be able to export your achievements to a sheet saying these are the courses I've taken, whatever. For an example, in our district, we do some leadership recognition awards as part of our annual trainings for people that have conducted and completed online training. So we would use some of the courses they've taken on the Lion Learn or Lions Learning Center to verify that they've done some online training. So they'd probably be able to export that report. So in this case, you'd probably just be able to run a report that would say all the different things that you've achieved, probably very similar to what was on the screen before, saying I've taken the goal setting course or whatever. And that would be what the report allows you to do. So we'll just view it here and see what it is. Oh, it saves it as a CSV. So let's open that one up here. I don't know if I share that screen or not. Probably not. So yeah. So yeah, all that create report is it just creates a report of all the training that you've done. So you can print that off, save it, share it with your GLT coordinator, whatever you want to do with it. Take it to your boss and maybe get a raise. I don't know. Yep. I'd consider giving a bigger raise to people if they take some additional trainings that could help them in their job. Yeah, absolutely. Or it might give them an extra day off work, that kind of thing. So I think you can see that the Lions Learn does have a lot of great courses that can really help you develop not only yourself, but also help guide you through supporting your club presidents, secretaries, or treasurers. So if you have a club treasurer that's struggling a little bit, encouraging them to register and going to the club treasurer learning path might help them and give them an hour or so worth of comfort with them. And then when they're done, then you may want to be able to sit down and spend some time with them and so on. Because one thing you have to remember is that club presidents usually learn from the president that served before them, or secretaries learn from the secretary that served before them, not necessarily all the right ways to do things or the new ways of doing things, perhaps. So even encouraging those people to still do the learning path anyway can be very, very helpful. You might have a club where the secretary's been a secretary for 4 or 5 years, and getting them to go on and taking a half-hour course on how to be a club secretary could be very beneficial to them, because they might learn something new that they hadn't been doing because it wasn't something that we did 4 or 5 years ago. So encouraging to do that would be very good. So it's great to see Claire saying all she has to do to get her bachelor's is attend a forum. Yeah, if you had an opportunity to attend the virtual forum a few weeks ago, they counted that as being a forum. So you could use that as one of your ways to attend. So next year's forum is in Des Moines, Iowa in September. So I'm hoping that we're going to be able to go somewhere by then. Because I always really enjoy the fellowship and everything at the USA Canada Forum. I think I went to my very first one probably 18 years ago, and I've only missed one since. So, 3,000, 3,500 people attend, and it's a great opportunity to network, hear some great speakers and so on. So attending the forum is great. So does anyone have any other questions about Lion Learn and how it can be used to support your clubs? So I'll just go back to the slides. So I just walked you through live instead. So as we go to wrap up, I just really kind of want to know, and you can share some of the things that you're doing. We talked last week about some of the things that you thought you were struggling with, maybe with COVID or some of your clubs, and what things are working well. I'd love to hear if anyone's had a zone meeting in the last week and how they felt that went, and what sort of positive things came out of it, or what sort of things you think you could have maybe done a little bit differently. That could be great for everyone else. Again, we always want to know what you need some help with. And of course, ideas for other Zone Chair webinar topics. So you can drop them in the chat box. You can belt out your comments and stuff here as we go along. So Claire says she missed the recording for last week. I'm going to send links out to both recordings after I go through a little bit of post-production, and then I'm adding in some frequently asked questions and some other documents and stuff to it. So it probably won't be out for another, maybe 4 or 5 days, I would hope, maybe by the end of the weekend. So, but that'll go out to all the zone chairs and region chairs, whether they attended or not, so that they can view them if they want. They can use them as a resource and everything else too. So if anyone else has any sort of successes or things that they want to talk about, challenges, anything like that, you can unmute yourself or enter your comments in the chat box. Like I attended my zone chair's zone advisory meeting, and he's on the call tonight. And his zone advisory meeting was focused on membership. And what really impressed me was he brought the global membership team coordinator in, and so we brought the global membership team coordinator in to talk about membership and some of the challenges. But what I really liked was the theme of the conversation about membership was not so much about recruitment, but it was more about retention. So I really liked how both the global membership team coordinator and zone chair Mike talked a lot about the importance of looking after your members, and because they're our foundation right now. And I was really impressed that they recognize that retention is probably our biggest opportunity right now in a COVID world, not so much the recruitment aspect. He had some good conversations, and he even shared some of the stats from last week's Zone Chair webinar, so I knew he was paying attention. So I want to do a big shout out to my own Zone Chair, Mike Gyrie, who's on the call tonight too. So Holly's asking, will the attendees of today's session be available to those other than zone chairs and region chairs? Yeah, so basically I'm going to share this with your all the invites that went out to zone chairs, region chairs, and I'm also sending it out to the GLT teams to share with the governor teams and so forth as well. So they're going to have all that information, because I think, to be successful in a district, you need everyone kind of working on everything together. So your GLT coordinators can't be successful if they don't know some of the things that you're working on and some of the tools you have and so on, just as you can't be successful if your district governor's team keeps things quiet and don't share stuff with you either. So you share up and you share down. So that's the key. So is to work it. So so a few more requests for making sure they get out to the GLTs. Bill says there's a real malaise in training in the district. They're hosting orientation sessions this weekend, and everyone who's been registered has been Lion for several or many years. How do we get clubs to encourage their newer members to attend? Bill, that's a tough one. And I've done orientation sessions before in my own district, and you're right, the people there are not necessarily the ones that I would have been targeting, which would have been the brand new members or the more recently inducted members from the last 6 months. However, some of those old dogs still can learn some new stuff. And, I think sending out personal invitations to the new members, so using the contact information in my LCI for a district, is reaching out to all the new members and either phoning them directly or sending them an email, whatever, inviting them, personally, to say, hey, we'd really like you to attend this orientation session. We're going to learn a lot about what Lions is all about and so forth. But really, orientation should happen at the club. And last week we talked about some of the orientation resources and encouraging clubs to do some of those orientations too. And then you at the district can just take it to that next level where you talk a little bit deeper. So the club orientation should kind of be, I think, more of an overview of what goes on in the club, your due structure, that kind of stuff, and the projects that your club's involved in. But then at the district level, it can be a little bit deeper. So maybe more about district projects and more about maybe the international scope of our association, so that it becomes a slightly different concept. But yeah, orientations are tough. We've done some online orientations. We've done face-to-faces, and yep, attendance is hit and miss at some of them too. So Verona suggests getting sponsors to attend with their new members. Yeah, so when you send out the invite to the new member and so on, invite the sponsors too. That can really help. Yeah, that's a great idea, Verona, because then it becomes that partnership between the two, that mentoring arrangement. So, does anyone else have any other comments, or they want to be unmuted and make a comment there? You're more than welcome to do that as well. Oops. Using my spot here, fast little mouse. Does anyone have any ideas for future zone chair topics? Whether it's a half hour, 45-minute, an hour kind of session, where maybe there's one or two things that you think would be really beneficial for you and your development. These have all been focused on zone chairs, but we invite the region chairs to sit in too, because they're responsible for mentoring you. So I would, there's topics for region chairs they might want. Mike suggests conflict resolution. Yeah, that's something that zone chairs get involved in a lot of times, right? Where you've got a club that's bickering a little bit, not performing, not achieving success because of arguments and conflict within the club. So sometimes a zone chair has to kind of mediate some of that. And so maybe a session on conflict resolution could be one. So I'm going to take that note down, because that could be something really good for not just you, but all your district officers as well too. So what other topics do you think would help you as a zone chair? Because really you're a third of the way through your year, almost, just about, but in a couple more weeks. So what is it that can make those last 8 months of your year as a zone chair or region chair more effective? So is there something that I can offer you? Is there something that I can bring in someone else to help do as well? Importance of mentoring. Yeah, I like that topic. Mentoring is pretty important, because I've had the privilege of being mentored by several people, and I've used those mentors in different ways. I have my primary mentor, and I still connect with her to this day, and still bounce ideas off her and thoughts and so on, because that mentoring relationship doesn't end. I've also had the privilege to be a mentor to countless people as well, and some of them are just very impromptu mentors, where someone drops me an email, a line, and I know there's lots of people on the call who'd be able to say exactly the same thing. And a good mentor learns as much from the person they're mentoring than the mentor, then they learn from the mentors. So it's a real true partnership. And I think you grow as an individual when you're involved in mentoring. So I think a session on mentoring at all levels, and because as a zone chair, you have a role to play by mentoring your presidents, and you know, maybe it might only be one of the presidents that you start taking under your wing a little bit, because you can really see that seed of leadership, and that you want to take a real active role in helping them along and guiding them along. And there is nothing more rewarding than seeing a person that you've mentored surpass you. It is hugely rewarding. I recently had that experience with a recent past district governor in my district, and you know, I supported mentoring him for a few years, and he would call me with questions and so on. And when he completed his year as governor, um, I reached out to him, and I was so proud to be able to tell him that he had achieved his goals. He had achieved more than I would have expected of him, and that uh, in many ways I felt he had surpassed myself. So I thought that was hugely rewarding, and you know, and I hope to be able to do that again for others as well. Um, so, you know, there are a few nice comments from Heidi and Claire, and you know, I truly appreciate those, and I do this stuff because I think it's so important to help people grow and develop, and I believe in our association, and I believe in the importance of service and motivating members to succeed, um, and helping them develop. So that's why I do stuff like this. So um, tricks for keeping clubs members active and involved in these challenging times, that'd be another great topic, like a real roundtable with zone chairs trying to figure out how can we really keep the clubs engaged and stuff, right? You know, how do we keep members serving rather than just sitting in the background and not doing anything and letting COVID consume them? Yeah, so that could be a great roundtable, and you know, I don't have all the answers by any means on that, but I strongly believe that with 130 some odd zone chairs potentially within Multiple District A and Multiple District N, I'm confident many of those answers would be there. So, and Julian says facilitating communication between zone chairs, trying to get their clubs to meet in a virtual setting. Yeah. So, you know, I think there's a real opportunity to have zone chairs stay connected and stay and interact with each other, so that they can share their ideas and their thoughts and so on. And you know, maybe we need to develop a way for the zone chairs in Eastern Canada at least to stay connected. So maybe we need a Facebook group or something that you can all join if you wish, and when you're struggling with something, you reach out to the rest of the zone chair teams and so on. You know, maybe that's the kind of thing we need. So Bill's asking, everyone knows, how do we contact me? Yeah, so that's perfect, because that's going to be on the next screen, and it's going to go out in the you know, in the follow-up stuff that goes out after the webinars. There'll be recording links will go out. I'm going to consolidate a lot of the questions and stuff from the chat boxes into kind of like a top level kind of document. I'm going to put a lot of links into the document for different things that I've found relating to membership, leadership, and service. A lot of things we talk about, links to some of the documents that we talked about on both sessions. And of course, you can contact me at christlewis.ca. You know, the invites that went out, you can, all my contact information is in those invites as well too. And of course, I'll have all my contact information available for you in that follow-up document. So as I said, I want to do a survey as well, so we can get an idea and gauge whether you felt this was a successful thing to do, whether it was worthwhile for you, whether it was a waste of an hour and a half a couple of times. You know, I want to get some of that feedback so that we can make this better. Lions Clubs International has really been looking at how can they engage with their zone chairs, and with the zone chairs right at the and getting information out to the zone chairs and down to the club level. So they've actually been on these calls, sort of hanging out in the background, trying to see the sort of things that zone chairs are talking about, so they get a better understanding of what's really going on down at that level. So so you're actually kind of groundbreakers by participating in this, and I'm hopeful that my counterparts out west may consider doing some other sort of zone chair engagement sessions where we can educate and train zone chairs and region chairs. And I think what's really important is that we have to keep having conversations, and we have to keep talking about how we can be successful and how we can do a better job in doing the things we do in our communities, which is making the world a better place. So let me just see if there's any other questions or comments in the chat box. Just some thank yous, and people have learned many different resources and stuff. Thanks Jen and Jerry. They're probably from my district, so they're always participating, and Denise feels a little bit more confident. And I think that's what my hope is that you feel more confident. I think if I were to, when COVID kind of put a wrinkle into this again, I think if I were to do this sort of process again, I would maybe start this back in 1st of July or middle of July kind of thing, right after your year starts, or even perhaps even back in June, so you have your toolbox ready to go for when you start when you start to engage the clubs. So again, the links to the recording to this will go out in a follow-up email. A survey I'll send out to all the attendees, and also the people who didn't attend too. So I want to find out why they didn't come, right? It's quite possible they could have had 6 Zoom meetings tonight, for all I know. So that's always possible. And of course, reach out to me at any time. You can reach out to your district GAT team or your multiple district GAT team as well for support. And if you need any help working with Lions Clubs International, I can facilitate that and get that information out to you. So if there's no further questions from anyone, we will close this for now, and then that way I can start working on post-production and get those surveys and things all out to you in the next few days. So I want to thank you all again for coming. I want you to continue to work to develop and strengthen your clubs, and continue to be an active, involved member of your district governor's team, and continue to reach out for opportunities to develop yourself, because I'm so glad that 60 and 100 people or whatever over the last 2 weeks have taken the time of their own time really to develop themselves. So over the in the coming days, of course, take care of yourself and make sure you stay safe, and make sure your family stays safe as well too in these challenging times. So I want you to take care, and see you around.